Hi, this is James Cullen Bressack, and you're listening to the Dave and Creech Show.
This is the Dave and Creech Show, the only podcast where podcaster CJ Creech and actor Dave Sheridan come together to talk all things entertainment with your favorite entertainers. Want to ask our guests a question? Tweet them to @DaveSheridan or @CJCNOV88, and they may be asked to our guests live on the show. We do have to ask you stay seated during the podcast because this ride may get a little bit hilarious. Now here's your hosts, Dave and Creech.
Hey everybody out there, welcome to episode 51 of the Dave and Creech Show. I am CJ Creech. As I mentioned last week, we are continuing our string of special guest hosts while Dave is finishing up on his house. Last week we had Lexi. This week we have a very special guest again. It's Miss Chasity Valentine.
Hey y'all!
Now, for those who don't know, Chasity used to co-host with me on my podcast, Creech Questions, like, forever ago.
Too long ago. I miss it.
Yeah, it was like, God, I think 2015 was when we recorded those episodes.
Time does fly. I didn't even realize it'd been that long until you just said that.
Yeah, it's been crazy long time. I think I did some brief research. I believe, like, it was the mid-20s, late 20s of Creech Questions, the episodes. Was the last ones that you were on, so it's crazy.
I think the last podcast I did was with Michael Trenor.
Yeah.
And I had a moment of pause, and everyone was like, "Where did you go, Chasity?" Because we mentioned about Norman. What was he, licking people or biting people?
I don't know. Something with the mouth and Norman Reedus, for sure.
Right, and I just went off in a daze mid conversation. So,
well,
I think that happens to most people when they, hear about Norman Reedus's mouth, right?
Yeah, I mean, hey, there was somebody in that same year in December that actually bit him at one of the conventions I was doing press at, so it's just craziness.
I wonder how she's doing.
I don't know. Apparently she's doing fine. She didn't go to jail, and she hasn't gotten any diseases or anything, so she's probably enjoyed it.
All right,
She probably
awesome.
hasn't washed her teeth, brushed it at all since the bite, but, crazy fangirls with crazy fangirl.
Well, I can't say anything. I might have a few things sitting in my closet of some crazy fangirl stuff.
Uh-oh. Well, I'm hoping it's not skin cells of Norman Reedus or something.
No, not necessarily, the fangirl of Norman Reedus type stuff, but moving along, we don't need to talk about my skeleton.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I'm guessing that means there's probably a shrine that has a bunch of candles lit and just maybe somebody winding up into a lampshade.
You might be on the right track.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get you implicated in the disappearance of anybody that you may or may not have obsessed over. So, like you said, we should definitely continue on before the cops listen in and things end up very horribly. And this will be the last podcast unless we do a live special from jail.
Sounds good.
So, other than that little episode, what have you been up to? Like, I mean, with our long-term listeners, you disappeared for a little while. And you acted in like a couple of little short films. What have you been doing?
Well, I had some family things come up, so that kind of held me back from maybe pursuing some other things for a while. I have gotten back into the whole realm of filmmaking and acting, and actually kind of on the business side of things too. I got some business cards in the mail not too long ago. I'm saving up for a camera. I want to make some documentaries. I'm thinking about traveling and doing that. I'm also kind of getting more into the music community, and that's been a lot of fun. So I've definitely not done too much, to be honest. I've wanted to, but sometimes life throws you curveballs, sets you back a little bit, but I'm definitely coming back strong, and there will definitely be more of me to see in different areas of, entertainment, I suppose, I would say.
We do have a great show. We've got a ton of news and some interesting, some downright weird and disgusting news to discuss. We've also got a special guest on the show, and James Cullen Bressack, who actually is the director of the film Bethany. And if you remember from last week, we had Tom Green on to talk his role, and now we've got the director on, and Bethany comes out next Friday, April 7th, so make sure if it's in a theater near you to check it out. But before we get into the interview and all that, we've caught up with what's been going on with you. Now let's catch up with what's been going on with the world. Is there any news items you'd like to start with?
I guess we can break the ice with the McNugget Buttman, is what I call him. He lives in Canada and apparently smuggled 80 pounds of McNugget by putting them in condoms of his butt.
Yeah, that's just a weird tale. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not like I've tried to taste the inside of a condom or anything. But I would imagine that they would taste differently after you've smuggled them there. Plus, just thinking, you're eating something that you'd shoved up your butt is just kind of a weird thing in and of itself. I've really...
It's kind of like eating backwards.
Yeah. It is basically, you're taking it from your butt, you're putting it in your mouth, and then it's like the circle of life, and then it goes out your butt again. I mean, I don't...
A full 360 there.
Yeah, exactly. So, some of these... some of these news stories, it's just always the weirdest thing, is we cover these weird ones, and, in my childhood years, I used to use a term that I was very affectionate with, when I would call people butt nuggets, but now we have a legitimate butt nugget on the show, so it's just very, very odd how that has came about, and the thought process in and of itself. I mean, I've never worked at McDonald's. I've had friends who did, who said they got, free meals. I mean, granted, it's not like anything crazy big, but I mean, why would you steal, what was it? You said 80 pounds of chicken nuggets over a certain amount of time by shoving them up your butt? It just blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, as I was reading the article, I, was just thinking to myself, what point in your life did you decide that this was the way to live? Exactly. And apparently he was suspected of stealing food, and the manager would search him and would never find anything. And now we know why. And we know the manager's not gay either. So there is that.
Yes, that is very, very odd. I mean, a packet of ramen noodles is like 20 cents, 10 cents? I mean, I don't understand. He's working at McDonald's, so he has some sort of paycheck. I would imagine he could at least spare like 20 cents to get some ramen noodles without needing, butt nuggets.
Just thinking about it, that reminds me, I was looking through the comments under the article, and there's some hilarious comments there. Someone said he'd be, he would throw a party and the nuggets would be served at 98 degrees. And I was like, that is just disgusting. So gross.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty gross. And yeah, I mean, that could very well be the case, though. Maybe he needed them for like a nugget platter, maybe for the Super Bowl, or for whatever the event be. But still, that's just gross. And everyone, his friends, his families have been invited over, and more than likely, they've ate butt nuggets.
Well,
he could very well be a father. It isn't Canada, but he could be a father, and he could be feeding his kids butt nuggets.
Oh, God. Could you imagine being the butt nuggets kid?
Exactly. I really can.
I
would imagine... Yeah, I would imagine if he has kids, they're probably being, like, bullied and mercilessly taunted. Probably for the rest of their life.
People would throw nuggets out the window at them.
Yeah, it's
butt nuggets.
Exactly. They're gonna have probably the biggest hatred for McDonald's since the actual original McDonald brothers had for Ray Kroc when he did all that crap that he did to them. Like, I can only imagine these kids are gonna grow up hating McDonald's, hating nuggets. I mean, you think if they loved nuggets before, their love of nuggets is no more. They probably don't ever want to see another nugget in their life.
Right. I don't think they could stomach it. Thinking about all the foods, 98 degrees served butt nuggets that they received, and they were like, why are they so warm and fresh? These are great. I love McDonald's. They had no idea that they were maintaining their freshness inside their dad's butthole.
Yes, it's just a tangled web we weave when we shove chicken McNuggets up our butts. It's just
and apparently in Canada, the McDonald's have lockers, and so they searched his locker, and you would think, there might be like a book bag or phone, keys, the normal stuff. This man had Vaseline and unused condoms in his McDonald's locker.
Yeah, that sounds like, everyday normal needs and belongings in a locker. I mean, hey, if you're not putting Vaseline and unused condoms in your locker, then what are you living for?
Right. I don't get it. I mean, let's just say we didn't know about the butt nugget. This man is always prepared for something to happen. Exactly. And he does. He looks like Joe Dirt. If you see his mugshot, he looks like Joe Dirt. So it's very suiting for him.
Exactly. He's prepared for any situation. If there is somebody that is hot to trot, and you know what, on the dot, he's ready. Right. So, and I mean, I could just imagine an employee just accidentally, maybe a new employee or whatever, going into the locker for the first time, just opening it up, thinking, making the mistake of going in the wrong locker and being like, what is this? Could you imagine the thoughts that's going to run through their head? Like, just opening that up and seeing a tub of Vaseline and unused condoms, like, oh my God, what is going on in this store?
Right? They're having McOrgies, I guess. I don't know.
They weren't kidding when they said over 1 million served. I just didn't know it was just not food that they were serving. They were serving the McSex. I mean, I guess that makes sense that there's now a secret menu item called the McGangbang on their menu. It makes sense now.
This guy has uncovered the secrets of the McDonald's travesties, really. These poor employees, no wonder they want $15 an hour.
Exactly. They're actually secret sex slaves. And sometimes they have to shove a McNugget up their butt or two,
I don't know. These poor things. Oh, well, all we can do is hope for the best for all those poor McSlaves at the McDonald's.
Exactly, and feel bad for those chickens that had to die just to get shoved up some dude's butt.
Oh, yeah. That's how anybody would want to go out, right?
Exactly. I'm gonna die so you can shove me up your butt. It's just very weird.
Hey, it could have been one of those chickens' dreams come true. You never know.
What else is on the news? I know I remember seeing something about DVDs flopping as usual.
Right, yeah. There was an article saying that the Blu-rays and the DVDs are basically severely declining in sales. And actually, production companies aren't really pushing to make them anymore because everything has become so digitalized that it's cheaper to make it that way, I would assume, between all the plastic and, everything that goes along with that. So the more people are just buying digitally, the less these companies have incentive to make actual physical DVDs of these movies and TV shows and stuff like that. And it's sad because we've seen it happen over time with Blockbusters going out, and I think everyone was absolutely heartbroken when Blockbuster went out of business. So it's been a long time coming, and really thought the Blu-ray discs were going to save it, but they're not holding it up, I guess.
Yeah, well, I blame it on, personally, I blame it on one, obviously, the Blockbusters going out of business, Hollywood Videos, all these video chains going out of business definitely didn't help. From where I'm sitting in Charleston, the nearest actual home video store that you can still rent DVDs, Blu-rays, games is actually in Columbia. That's a family video, so that's about 2 hours away from us for those that aren't local and listening. So that's a huge drive just to go if you wanted to rent a movie. I've been there twice, but it's usually on my trips. If I'm going to visit my family in North Carolina, it's on the way, so I'll stop in. But yeah, I mean, that definitely hurt it for sure, and so did. I don't know if you remember back to this, but I mean, when DVDs first came out, they were just loaded with special features. The making of documentaries, the deleted scenes, alternate endings, all this extra stuff. So you really felt like you got your money's worth. But nowadays, DVDs, even Blu-rays, are just the movie, and maybe you're lucky if you get just a director's commentary on it. It's basically a VHS over again. Plus, the movie companies, I feel, are pushing it, are helping to cause the decline in sales when, you watch the commercials for movies when they're about to come out. They release digitally, 3 to 4 weeks before they come out on DVD and Blu-ray. So most people don't want to wait. And they're like, oh, well, I really like this movie. I want to own it now. So they'll go ahead and buy it digitally. And then, with the technology now, they just stream it to their TV.
Right. Yeah, it's sad because I know I still have a ton of DVDs that I love watching, and I love having a physical DVD because it's mine. It's not going to get lost in the abyss of the digital world. There's not going to be some computer crash that's going to destroy it. There might be, leaving it out of the case and it getting scratched, and oh no, I might have to go buy another one. But, and you're right, the commentary and the extra features, one of my favorite things that I would love to do is go to stuff like that after the movie, because I'm really interested as a filmmaker how the film has been done. And there's one of my favorite movies is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I find it to be really unique and awesome. And I have the DVD, and in the special features, it's got bloopers. You can laugh and see all that. It's got commentary. It's got music. It's got all these things that make the DVD just that much more awesome. And then, you know, you do have these other DVDs that are just DVDs, just click play and that's it. And, you know, if you're paying $20 for that versus a digital copy that's maybe $5 to $7 cheaper, you know, what are you going to do? You know, they kind of put you in a corner and push you towards the digital, you know, copies of things. So you're right. Yeah, I mean, I think the production companies have a lot to do with it. And it's sad because it's, you know, DVDs are going to become the new VHS, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, they're already, I mean, they're still trying to push new formats. But I'm officially out of the format thing. I mean, I do buy digitally occasionally. I'll still buy DVDs, but I mean, I've been purging some of my DVDs. You've seen my DVD collection before,
yeah.
And I've probably halved it since the last time you saw me. Just getting, I mean, I've been converting a lot of mine to digitally, but there's some that, you know, I'm just never going to get rid of. I mean, and if there's extras or cases, I still buy them. Because that's, you know, I mean, that's the cool thing. You don't get the cool cases and like the bonus features. I mean, there's some movies out there, like The Devil's Rejects that, I mean, Rob Zombie loaded that DVD with so many bonus features. I mean, The Devil's Rejects is only about an hour and 40 minutes long, but there's a 3.5 hour long documentary covering the entire process of making that movie. On another disc, and then like stuff like that, you don't see anymore, and it was interesting. I mean, especially for that to come out in 2005, I was just getting into movies through the other aspect of learning how to make them. So, you know, seeing stuff like that was just amazing. And yeah, it's really sad that everything's kind of going digital, but it's a sign of the times. I really do believe there's going to be a point where there won't be DVDs or Blu-rays, none of that anymore.
Yeah. It's sad. I have to say I am a person that likes physical things. Like I said, you know, I love having my books and my DVDs. I do have a couple digital books, and it is really convenient. You know, if you're out and about, or say you're in a waiting room or on a break from work, you can just flip open your phone or slide open, whatever, and there it is. You know, there's no carrying a bunch of stuff around with you in a book bag, even though I find that to be really romantic in its own way to do that. But it is convenient. And it's, in this day and age, everyone wants convenience. That we're all busy. We all have hard work schedules. We're all doing things, so if someone can provide you something you want at the tip of your fingers, you know, instantly, why not? You know, so I get why it's happening. It's just, it's sad, you know?
For sure. So what is next on the news?
Next on the news is a guy in Kansas decided that jail was better than being with his wife. Now, I'm very confused by his logic. So he robs a bank, his local bank, and pleads guilty and leaves a note for his wife that says, you know, he'd rather be in jail than be with her, which is a little harsh. I don't know what this woman has done to this man to make him think that jail is the way to go. But if I truly had some hate in my heart for someone, I would just run away, right? I would leave a note and say, hey, the Bahamas are going to be great without you, or something like that. To pick jail? That confuses me.
Yeah, no, I agree. That is very confusing. Like you said, I mean, hey, I've gone the other route. You know, I was married and I got a divorce. So, I mean, yeah, it wasn't the cheapest thing, but still, I mean, that's one way, you know, you could go. I mean, technically, even if he goes to jail and now she wants to get a divorce, it's still going to cost him money in the long run. I mean, but I mean, like you said, I just can't imagine how, like, apparently, I don't know, monstrous this lady must have been, at least in his opinion, to be like, you know what sounds good about right now? I think jail, locked up with some dude that may or may not want to rape me for the next 3 to 6 years, and pay like thousands of dollars back just to go to jail, just so I don't have to be in your life anymore.
He's a 70-year-old man, so I'm thinking, if I was 70 years old, then yeah, maybe going out in the world by yourself, you're probably on either disability, Social Security, your income's not that high, but even still, I would have been like, you know what, I'm going to live the rest of my years happy, and I would just take a car and go. We have cards, credit cards and debit cards. It's not like he'd never see his money again. I would just go. Jail, I don't know if his logic was, well, if I go to jail, I'll always have a roof over my head, somewhat of a meal, and medical care. Maybe that was his thought process. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know myself. That's definitely a very crazy situation of this isn't no quite Prison Break here with some guy trying to go to jail to break out his brother. This is just guy going into jail to escape his wife.
It's unfortunate that the article didn't say anything about what the wife had to say, because I'm curious, because women have a reputation of being overbearing or controlling, and if a guy acts out of line or says they're crazy or something, they've always got the 1 or 2 lines that justifies everything that they do, right?
Yeah.
So I would love to hear her justify whatever she's done to make this man put himself behind bars to stay away from her.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, you'd think this lady turns into like a monster, or a demon or something, I can't imagine what she would do and what anybody could possibly do to me to make me be like, you know what? Jail sounds like a really good place right about now. Let me go rob a bank.
The only way that jail would work for me is if I had some kind of assassin after me, and no matter where I went in the world, they were going to find me, but I would be safe in jail, and that's the only place that I would be safe, then yeah, maybe. But then again, I might just rather die than live in jail my whole life.
Exactly, right? Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those stories, like the McButt-nuggets from earlier. It just defies logic. There's plenty of different routes that you could take to get away from this situation or to get nuggets or whatever, but it seems like there's just so many people out there that just want to take the drastic route. Like, yeah, I'm going to go rob a bank just to get away from my wife. Yeah, I want some McNuggets for free, so I'm going to shove them up my butt. Like, it's just crazy. I don't know. But in the end, it's way better for us because then we can have these odd, random, hilarious stories to get to chat about. So, in the end, while their logic and decision making may not be the best, it works the best for us, for sure. I think, was there any other stories this week?
No, I didn't. Nothing that I've come across. I think that was the list of articles, all having their own darkness about them, I suppose. No pun intended for the McNugget butt guy.
Yeah, well then, I mean, obviously the next thing then, if we're done with the news and all of the the various talkings of, like you said, doom and gloom, we do have a special guest on today. It's an interview that me and Dave did last week to promote the horror film Bethany. Now, I sent you the link to view the movie, and before we get into the interview, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I watched it twice. I always think that you can watch a movie once, but you'll miss something or a few things. But if you watch it multiple times, you'll pick up on other things as well. And the one thing that I noticed that I really liked about it was the cinematography. It was very dark, and it had shadows and all these things that really exemplified how dark this movie is. It's got a storyline that is, I don't know, it's definitely freaky. I can't go into too many details, but there was a couple times where I had to look away from the screen because it was just too much for me to handle and turning my stomach. So, but overall, I thought it was good. It was a good movie. Good little horror flick. I don't typically watch horror films because they freak me out and I can't sleep in the dark, especially the ones with ghosts in them. And oh, lo and behold, this is one of those. So
I kind of forgot.
Hopefully, I'll get some sleep tonight.
Yeah, I kind of forgot to mention that when I sent it. But yeah, no, it's definitely a very different kind of horror film, especially for it to be quote unquote considered indie. It definitely has a lot of big names in it, and it also is actually good, which is one of those rare things, because usually when you see low budget indie horror, I mean, this was not really low budget, but when you see indie horror, it usually is miss. Like, it's usually just really bad or really poorly done. But this one is phenomenal. And, yeah, like you said, I mean, I love horror movies. I've, watched the goriest to the freakiest, but this one made me, too, look away at least twice. And that's no small feat in and of itself. So, yeah, it's definitely a great movie, and we're going to be chatting about it along with some of his other projects. So, without any further ado, here is our interview with James Cullen Bressack, director of Bethany.
By the way, everybody, we're on with James Cullen Bressack, auteur, amazing director, writer, and you should know his shit, and you're going to know his shit. But, how many films have you done to date right now? I mean, you must be up there.
By the way, I only paid them like $20 to say nice things about me, just so you guys know.
Yeah, no, you haven't paid us yet at all.
Wait, Dave got paid?
Don't tell anybody.
Until I get that confirmation of PayPal, we will edit that shit out. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so.
That's why you guys told me about the edits. You wanted to make sure that I knew that like all the nice things will be cut if that payment doesn't go through.
Exactly.
Okay. So, but yeah, so I've directed 14 feature films at this point.
Oh my god.
And a couple like spec pilots that did not get picked up, and a music video that, and some cool stuff, I guess. But yeah, a ton of short films. I started off doing short films. I was like the kid in high school that like instead of doing a book report, I'd do a short film on why I didn't want to do a book report. So like that was kind of like my film school experience of life. I started off middle school, high school, like I would just turn in short films and be like, oh, here's my short film about science class. And it would be like, involved scientific shit, but it was like an action movie. I just did like whatever I wanted to do. And I think it's mostly just because I just assumed that I knew better than everybody else and my teachers, because I was like the crazy kid who they were like, here, do all this algebra. And I was like, I won't need algebra when I'm a filmmaker.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, nowadays, I got with kids, and they don't even teach them math because they know, fuck, you've got an iPhone with a calculator on it, right? And so there's this thing called new math where it's like this. I'm telling you, there's a thing called the new math system. It's called core curriculum, and it was developed on all the worksheets at the very bottom. It says the Silicon Valley Initiative, right? That's what is very small print, and this stuff comes back where it's stupid. It's like 8 stupid problems, like just really rudimentary stuff. And we're talking 3rd and 4th grade where they should be, learning times tables and doing, fractions and division, but they're still working on counting blocks and stuff. But then they'll throw in this like trigonometry question at the very end. And I'm convinced that what it is they understand that average people do not really need to comprehend or know math, they don't use it in their regular lives anymore because we have computers that help us. And they're really out there trying to find that beautiful mind, crazy, just the super geniuses, and they're trying to identify them early and get them into the gifted programs and sort of shuttle them up so that we can compete with China and other places with our, the rockets and the computers and stuff.
That makes sense, though. I mean, like, when I was in school, they tried to they tested me, and like I tested highly gifted, and they tried to put me in like an accelerated gifted program, and so like I was like a 1st grader in a class with all 4th graders and stuff, and I pretty much was like, fuck this, I don't want to do this, and I complained to my parents, and they put me back in a regular thing, but like they were trying to put me in like school during the summer, like for like John Hopkins, like gifted children, and I'm like, I don't think they ever understood that I didn't like school. I think the difference is like, our school system is broken in the sense that it doesn't realize that just because somebody's smart or gifted, everybody's gifted in some sort of way. We're trying to have everybody, fit. We're trying to fit, square pegs into a round hole when really like, we should be deciding and figuring out what somebody's gifted in and then harnessing that talent and moving towards it instead of saying, hey, learn a whole bunch of shit that you're never going to use just so you know all this shit. And we'll give you demoralizing grades and tell you you're not doing a good job and things that you'll never use. It's like, let's find out what you're good at and train you towards that.
Right.
It's a weird system that is broken, and the school system has not really developed in the past 125 years, and I think it really stifles creativity. I'm a strong believer of that because I was looked at and shunned in school by my teachers and stuff as a lazy kid who didn't try, and I mean not to say anything to compliment myself at all, but if there's one thing I do is I try very hard. If you look at what I do, I work very hard. I work often and I work hard. And that's not to brag or anything, but it's to say that I was lazy is crazy. It's just like as creatives myself, and I'm sure a lot of other creatives, we don't want to work hard on things that we don't see a use in. If you tell me to put in 150 hours in a day, and there's only 24 hours in a day, I would work around the clock on a movie, nonstop, without sleep, without even complaining, right? But if you tell me to put in 3 hours doing some math homework, I'd rather bang my head against the wall, So it's not laziness. It's just there has to be passion behind what you're doing and what you want to do, and it's a horrible thing to force children to do that, to move towards something that they obviously do not care about.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, that's I guess overall they're trying to see who can be trained into the cubicle life. If you're an artist, you're not, the one of the things I know about you, we've hung out maybe once or twice. I remember one time, and you're obviously an artist. I'm a little bit of an artist, but there's no way that you and I could work on a corporate level, especially in those cubicle type settings. You know what I'm saying? So we naturally kind of filter ourselves out of it. But didn't you finish high school like at 15 or something like that?
No, man, I finished high school at the right age. I finished at like 18. No, I didn't drop out of high school or anything. I just didn't go to I didn't go to college. I just didn't do it. But I mean, I personally just don't. I just feel bad because I see all these kids that are like, you know, fighting to remain creative when it seems like creativity is so shunned within the school environment. You know,
right.
It's like they try to teach you all these basic things, but they never try to really harness your creative energy. And for all creative kids out there, like, you have to go out there and find it on your own, which is sad, because then you have all these people feeling like they can never actually, you know, live their dreams.
Speaking of dreams, you're living the dream. Hey, let's jump back to Zach Ward, because you guys have collaborated on at least 3 films that I know.
Well, if Zach Ward is in my dream, it must be a nightmare.
That's right. But how did your relationship come about with Zach in the first place?
So, I mean, the funniest way to ever meet somebody, Zach and I are now writing partners, very close friends. We've written, I don't know, countless screenplays together. I think maybe 6 or 7 at this point, if not more. Like a Lifetime movie, Bethany, Restoration, a couple other things. And he's acted in a couple of my movies, and we actually met at a sushi bar. I was at a sushi bar with a friend, and he was there with his girlfriend, and he had just come back from an audition, and he just started like making funny voices, because I guess it was like an audition for like a I think it was Mr. Peabody and Sherman, like the movie for that.
Yeah.
Funny voices and stuff, and I heard the funny voices, and I was like, I like funny voices. Hi, I'm James. And we just started chatting, and have been friends ever since.
Nice. That's cool. And then, what was the name of the Lifetime movie? I forget.
It was called If Looks Could Kill, and it's actually airing for like the 100th time now. I don't know. It seems like they air those movies like repeatedly, but it's airing again on the 5th.
All right, let me ask you a question about that. Do you get residuals when for something like Lifetime when it airs, or is it one and done? How does that work?
Somebody's getting residuals, but that's not me. No, I was bought out. I was bought out on residuals.
That was the one shot like in Oklahoma that you called me, and I just couldn't. I couldn't make it work. I couldn't come out.
Yeah, that was the Oklahoma movie. It's a fun one, but yeah, I mean, me and you are going to work together sometime. I know that.
Yes. I know. Hopefully the next one. And now this Bethany film, and it's, when is it out in theaters? Because this one comes out in like a limited release in theaters, right?
Yeah, April 8th, or April 7th. Sorry, April 7th.
That's just around the corner, probably like in 2 weeks.
It is around then.
Now, is this the one, did you shoot this sort of back-to-back with Restoration and sort of like figured out like how to amortize the situation?
Yeah, we totally did. And, the Restoration was shot right before Bethany. We had like 3 days down in between, and then Bethany started shooting. So it was like shooting a really long movie with 2 different filmmakers.
2 different filmmakers, but a lot of shared crew, right?
The same crew, really, except like a couple keys were different.
Look, here's the thing: people that listen to us are aspiring filmmakers and stuff. So I try to always cover topics of the production aspects that people understand and kind of get educated a little bit. Because the one thing I kind of knew that there was some shared locations, but you made a real obviously it was a chosen effort to really make the films look completely, they had their completely different looks, way different looks. The Bethany one is obviously a little bit more moodier and darker, and Restoration is, kind of has that sort of like more verite. It feels more naturally lit type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, Bethany, I wanted to create a really cerebral, like, trippy movie, because we're traveling inside the mind of a character that is, having a nervous breakdown, basically. So we're going in and out of her psyche. And so there's a lot of stuff that I play with within the movie that really, heightens that. And, as the character's falling apart, the filmmaking kind of falls apart with it, in the sense of like what we would deem as normal starts to kind of go by the wayside, where I give way to like giallo lighting and like colorful, sets and stuff kind of starts getting more nightmarish and hypnotic visually. And, there's a lot of points where you literally see the camera move into this woman's head and like, it moves out and you're in a completely different place. I kind of wanted to, I had a conversation with somebody who they had like a near-death experience, and they were telling me that during that experience, when they were in the hospital, they would like wake up and like, they'd be like in the middle of talking and then they wouldn't remember falling asleep, and then they'd wake up again and it'd be like flashes and they'd be like, somewhere else, and then they'd, pass out, but it would all fluidly kind of move together, right? And so that's kind of the style I kind of lended to this movie, where it's like fluidly you're going from one place to another without actually realizing you've been transported, and then suddenly, we push in on something, pull out, you're somewhere completely different, and she's kind of reacting to something where everything's kind of melded together as if it's like a quilt, and the transitions are well hidden within the scenes. It's a really it was a fun experience to do, and color-wise, we really played with colors there, because this is somebody who is having a break with reality.
That seems like a complicated film to direct without losing your own mind. Well, let me tackle a film where I may go crazy shooting it, but obviously you personally shoot fast anyway. Time is money, etc. But I can imagine if you were in the 1970s and you're like, you have that script, and then there's a little bit of like psychological drugs passing around, etc., and then you're actually shooting for 5 months on some crazy set, you'd fucking lose your mind. So, as a director, did you ever like go home at least and just like have any like hard nights getting to sleep or bed turning stuff? Or how does that work when you work on all these horror movies? Can you leave it at the can you check it out as soon as you call wrap for the day, or does some of that shit follow you home, or you're just thinking so much about tomorrow's shit that you don't
I'm haunted by a lot of things when I direct a movie. Like, I'm the guy who, I'm very prepared. So if you look at like my script, I have notes on every single page about like what I want for like color-coded notes for every single department of what I want for every single scene. I've already gone over with the department heads, and I have like a very detailed shot list for every scene. And so I'm the guy who will, when I get home, if I had to, because of time, cut shots, I will run through those shots in my head over and over again, the ones that I cut, and like kind of like beat myself up about the fact that I never got to those shots. And I'm also, so I don't know if the concept of the film or just like the filmmaking in general is what gets me, but like I'll tell you that I have never, in 14 films that I've directed, I have never been able to sleep the day before I start filming my first day, ever. I will not sleep even for 10 minutes. It's just impossible, because I will run through the entire day over and over again in my head repeatedly. So there's always that, but I don't know if anybody will ever notice that I didn't get a shot that I wanted, and I don't think like when you look at the edit you go, that should be there. But I have a lot of stuff that I wish I have in certain scenes that I didn't. But part of directing on these budgets is you start to weigh in your head what's more important, like another take from this angle with this actor, or getting this other shot. And I've learned to like kind of grab some stuff and weigh that. And I also kind of drive my editors a little crazy too, because like sometimes I'll be in like a close up, and after like doing like a take, I'll just randomly like, all right, now pan down and grab that insert. And I'll like tell the script, yeah, just know that like there's an insert at the end of this. Make note for the editor so that I don't have to like stop and set everything to grab that insert, so I can like kind of double time and catch more time when filming.
Got it. So basically, you're saying you like to grab inserts in the moment as you're going, basically, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, to kind of save time so that I don't have to reset and grab an insert, and because you know the cadence of when you're on a set, you're gonna lose 2 minutes between takes no matter what. It's just kind of how it goes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I make movies and stuff, and I like that. I like what you're saying because it's there. You're gonna know. Look, you're gonna be sitting there with the editor, so you're gonna know where to find the stuff anyway. And I guess they can tail slate or whatever, and you have your script. You making notes of, hey, we picked up an insert on that take. We make note of it. But at the same time, it's definitely like, okay, let's stop the camera and reset. I love it when directors are just like, let's grab this all in the same take, and just keep rolling, so. Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of like, I edit the movie in my head when I'm, from the shot list, and then when we're filming, and of course, like, film is a living, breathing thing. I see like organic moments where I'll start adding shots because like, you see an actor really killing it in a scene, and you're like, I actually want to get like an even tighter close-up of them doing that. And I realize that there's tools in post to like punch in and get you a better close-up as well. But like, I kind of also go from the school of like, punched in shot is not going to look better than like a well-lit close-up. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not going to punch in from my medium to a close-up. I want to allow that because there's also subtleties that the actor is going to be able to do in a closer focal length than they would be when you're wider. So it's just you have to weigh the options at all times. I mean, I feel like 90% of directing is pre-production, and then 5% of it is problem solving, and the other 5% of it is weighing options. That's pretty much it.
Oh, man. See, my math was like 30% cocaine, 20% beer, and then 50% craft service table. But maybe that's why my shit doesn't cut out, man. I got to change my mathematics and my ratios.
It's all about the ratio, man. It's all about the ratio. But, I think I've been doing a lot of producing lately. Instead of directing, and it's really interesting to watch other filmmakers direct. I've worked with some really talented directors as a producer, and seeing them work, it's like everybody has such a different style. So it's so fun to see how people do stuff. I mean, you look at me, I'm probably like outside of making a movie, I'm like the least organized person in the world. But like when I'm directing, I literally basically like planning everything ahead. I'm so unbelievably thorough. It's weird. So it's kind of funny to see it all.
And then on average, let's say this one, how long do you post something for when you're a film like this? Is it 6 months, 4 months, sooner, or because when you're making stuff. There's obviously different buyers and different, like, was this film, definitely, was it a true independent, or did you have a distributor or somebody already on your case to be like, you got to meet this deadline, you got to bring this film in, et cetera, et cetera?
I was very fortunate enough to have Uncorked, which is the distributor of this film. Keith from Uncorked, who's a great guy, who I very much respect and like. Him and I have a great relationship, and we had set up a deal to do a couple movies together, and Bethany falls into one of those movies. But he was definitely not hounding me to hit a certain date or this or that, but he did know about the movie before we started filming it.
What inspired this film from your side of things? Like, you know, when you make a film, you kind of don't want to go back and say, all right, I'm going to retread in that. I sort of know you where you're, you know, do you basically say what do you kind of think like in general terms of what is the next sort of theme, what's the next style movie that I want to tackle, or do you just kind of let the idea come to you versus trying to concoct the idea?
I let the idea come to me, and usually it comes with like a cool twist ending, and then I figure out everything from there. And you know, Zach always says that I'm like the idea guy, and then like he's kind of like how we say it is like I'm the doctor, the surgeon, where like I kind of like come up with like all the broad strokes of stuff, and then he goes in and like operates on it. You know what I mean? So like and so he like pulls out the better from within my idea. So we really bounce off each other really well that way. But you know, ultimately I've always kind of just made movies that I kind of, sometimes I've done movies where I had to fit within a mold of what somebody wanted. But, you know, lately I've gotten into, like, I kind of only want to make the movies that strike me as interesting. And Bethany was definitely a passion project where, you know, for the first time in a couple of years, I had full creative control. You know, because for a while I was working for different companies as a director, and although I definitely liked the movies I had made for them, it was stuff where it was like, well, we need a movie like this, and I had to write a movie like that and then direct like that, you know, and follow some rules, whereas Bethany, I was able to kind of do whatever I want. And that was the first time in a while I've been able to do something like that. And you know, it's also why it's a high note for me, because it's definitely going to be my last horror movie as a director for quite some time. Next time I direct a movie, is not going to be horror. I have no horror movies planned in the foreseeable future, and you know, that's a really interesting experience for me as well, because you know, I came up in horror. I've directed like something like 10 of the features I've directed have been horror features. So this is, you know, I think it's a nice way to end that journey with horror. And that's not to say that I will not be coming back to do a horror movie, but it's definitely the last one I'm doing for a while, and for sure within this budget range, the last one I will be doing.
Well, yeah, because, you know, eventually you got to move on to shooting the gay porn, which you told me was your dream. So,
of course, yeah. But,
yeah, exactly. Zach was acting for free. In fact, you know, Zach is just you don't need to shoot gay porn with Zach. All you need to do is edit the gay porn for Zach, because he already has so much footage.
Well, Zach and I just call those our home videos, but I mean,
right.
Now you're just awkward.
Yeah. I like to call them stolen home videos that I like to call them, hey, I was at Zach's house and I pretended to go to the bathroom, but I went underneath his bed. So I'm joking, man. But what do you know what your next project is going to be?
Well,
tell us.
The next movie I have coming out that I directed and wrote, and I actually co-wrote with my dad, it's an animated kids musical. So that's the next thing I have coming out as a director. And then after that, I have a drama that I directed coming out. So, like, as I said, like, I really don't have any horror planned after Bethany, at least as a director.
Yeah. And, yeah, because I think I remember now, your dad was a musician or something?
No, my dad's a writer. He was one of the head writers of Pinky and the Brain and Animaniacs.
That was it. Right. Yeah. So he's been involved with animation for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a really fun movie, and it's you know, I'm excited about it. I think people are gonna like it. But I really feel Bethany's the best thing I've ever done. So it's really exciting for me for this movie to be coming out. It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, I think it looks awesome, dude. It really, I mean, it looks scary as shit, too. So is that one. I've seen the trailer. I haven't seen the film. I want to wait until I'm in a good spot. I don't want to watch it on my iPhone, and I have not been around a place where I can plug something into a big television, or I might just catch it in the movie theater. April 8th, people. And then, speaking of the release, is it going to be available on VOD the same time that it's in the movie theater? Is it kind of one of those like simultaneous releases?
Yeah, it is. So it'll be on VOD everywhere. So grab the movie on VOD, guys.
Welcome back. That was a interesting interview, I may say so myself. Wouldn't you say, Chasity?
I would say so.
Well, we are almost nearing the end of the show. I do want to go ahead and announce next week's special guest. Next week is actually going to be Christopher Barry, who played the first Savior you saw on The Walking Dead before Negan made his appearance. So I'm going to love to catch back up with Christopher. And next week, I haven't got an interview lined up yet. I'm believing it's going to be Joseph France from Jackass and CKY. But if not, we may go ahead and release an interview that you yourself have already done with Zach Galligan from Nashville last year. So either way, we'll figure it out which one. But normally we say our goodbyes, but Chasity here has actually got a special treat for the listeners and for us. Actually, I just found out about this guy and I got his song, and it's actually really great. And Chasity is going to tell you a little about it, and then we'll give it a listen right before we go.
Okay. So Tim is a truth-seeking poet. He is an avid musician, eager to perform. He's great with crowds. He has just this healing spirit of music about him. He uses his music to grieve, to paint stories, to share himself. Just, that's how he communicates with the world. That's how he loves to express himself to other people, just through his music. Can be positive, lighthearted, dark, romantic, playful. He's got really a wide realm of ways that he plays his music to express himself or to communicate, basically, because like we mentioned, music is the way he communicates. And so basically what sparks him to write a song and to put all this emotion in it is through experiences that he's had with people, places, adventures, and he basically takes those moments and puts it right into his music, whether it be the lyrics or the guitar playing. From what I've experienced, it's both. You can feel whatever he's feeling through both what he's saying and how he's playing. So I think he's a really talented, wonderful guy, and I hope that everyone gets the same amount of feelings that I receive when I listen to him.
Exactly, yeah, and I like you said, I got it sent to me. I listened to it. It's the song is called Siren's Play, and it was actually performed when he was performing, or recorded when he was performing at the Ice House, which is a local place down here, and it's a phenomenal song.
So, without further ado,
takes me just a troubled troubadour. Only you can make me. Can't foresee the magic making right before you take me. that you lead me, only to forsake me. Lifting at my muffled bones, not enough to make you stick around a little while longer so that I could take you to my sanctuary place where I just might save you from those demons which without my love would surely break you. Leave me hanging from my line, sassy little siren. One more tease like that night's rush, and Dolly, I'll be buying drinks for some lost soul who knows my time on stage is flying. I don't mean to make you blue, but sugar, you'll be crying. Patty cake, emerald eyes. Shimmy this way with your red high tops and white lies. Tiger lily shuffle, would you take a chance on me? Cut that sexy black dress rug as I sing sweet to you by the sea. Is pink petal bureau wedding mischief really worth the price? I'm all yours for now, but darling, forever's just tonight, just tonight. Tell me that you need me, say you'll be all mine. Faint of heart from faint of breath, torment me inside. Clear my cobwebs, touch your cuffs, would you drop another line? Pull me out and break my binds and drown me in your jade fierce light. Forever's just tonight. Forever's just tonight. Forever's just tonight. Sirens play. Thanks, Ice House. Y'all are looking gorgeous. Somerville, I'm in love. I'm in love.
You can find Tim on Facebook at facebook.com/Tim Falvey Music. He's also on soundcloud.com/Tim Falvey Music as well. And he does have a YouTube channel, Tim Falvey as well. So it's not hard to mix up any of those. Basically, go to any of them, put his name in, and you'll find him.
Exactly. So you should definitely follow them there. Go ahead and follow Chasity on her channels. I believe it's at Elvira Sal on Twitter, and is it the same on Facebook as well?
No, not on Facebook. I'm in the process of remaking that one. But definitely follow me on Twitter at Elvira Sal, and that's basically one of my only outlets. Instagram, you can follow me at Tick Tick Boom Boom. So basically, yeah, that's all I got right now.
All right, well, thanks once again. I hope you guys enjoy this song, and we will see you next week for episode 52, the amazing spectacular that has literally been 100 podcast episodes. in the making.
Woohoo! Awesome. Thank you so much for having me today. It's been a blast, a pleasure. This whole hour that we've been talking has just flown by. It's been so much fun. Thank you so much.
Shut up and sit down.
Thank you for listening to the Dave and Creech Show. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Dave and CJ. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of Creech Creative Productions or any of its affiliates.